Have you ever looked up at the stars and wondered, are we really the first? The first thinkers, the first builders, the first species to stand tall and call this planet home? We like to think of human civilization as the beginning of intelligence on Earth, that we are the ones who unlocked technology, mastered the elements, and carved cities from stone and steel. But their question was serious, even haunting. If an advanced industrial civilization had existed on Earth millions of years ago, would we even know? Because here's the truth. In the scale of geological time, humanity is a blink. We've only been here for 300,000 years. The Earth? It's 4.5 billion years old. That leaves billions of years unaccounted for. What could have risen and fallen in that vast stretch of time, unseen, unknown, and almost unthinkable? What if we're wrong? What if we're just the latest chapter in a story that began long, long before us? A story buried in forgotten epics, written in symbols time has erased? This isn't wild speculation. In 2018, two respected scientists, astrophysicist Adam Frank and NASA climatologist Gavin Schmidt, proposed something revolutionary. They called it the Silurian hypothesis, named with a playful nod to the reptilian species from Doctor Who. To understand why we may never find proof of our planet's previous tenets, if they ever existed, we have to understand one thing. Earth erases. It doesn't just age things, it devours them. It crumbles mountains, drains lakes, folds cities into the crust. Within thousands of years, metal rusts, wood rots, glass fractures, and plastic disintegrates under UV light. In mere hundreds of thousands of years, even the deepest concrete foundations would fracture under tectonic movement. Imagine our entire civilization, all our skyscrapers, subways, bridges, and satellites, crushed beneath shifting plates, burned in volcanic ash, or scattered by erosion. What would be left after 10 million years? Maybe nothing. Or perhaps just a chemical whisper in a layer of sediment. The Earth is not sentimental. It does not keep souvenirs. It moves on, constantly reshaping itself. Mountains rise, oceans flood deserts, continents collide and drift. The planet has erased its surface many times before, and it will do so again. And here's the terrifying thought. If our world can forget us so easily, then how many others has it already forgotten? If structures crumble and artifacts dissolve, what could possibly survive? The answer may lie not in ruins, but in residues. Frank and Schmidt suggested that instead of searching for buildings or tools, we should look for chemical fingerprints, subtle changes in Earth's composition that don't happen naturally. Industrial activity alters the environment in measurable ways, even long after the physical evidence disappears. Burning fossil fuels, for example, changes the ratio of carbon isotopes in the atmosphere. Using artificial fertilizers spikes nitrogen-15 levels in the soil. And nuclear technology? That leaves traces of radioactive isotopes like plutonium-244, substances not naturally present in high concentrations. These chemical breadcrumbs might be preserved deep within rock layers, like an invisible diary of a vanished species. But there's a problem. Natural events, like volcanic eruptions or methane releases, can produce similar chemical shifts. That makes it difficult to separate the hand of industry from the chaos of geology. Still, the idea is powerful. Even if a civilization was crushed, burned, or buried, the Earth might still carry the echoes of their existence in its chemistry. Let's rewind time, about 56 million years ago. Earth suddenly got hotter. A lot hotter. We're talking about a temperature spike of 5 to 8 degrees Celsius, globally. Oceans turned into warm bathtubs. Arctic regions became subtropical. And deep-sea ecosystems collapsed like houses of cards. This period is known as the Paleocene-Eocene Thermal Maximum, or PETM. It's one of the most dramatic warming events in Earth's entire geological record. But what caused it? Volcanic activity? Methane release from the seafloor? Or, and here's the controversial idea, could it be the chemical fingerprint of an ancient industrial civilization? Scientists have long believed that PETM was natural, but recently, astrophysicist Adam Frank and climatologist Gavin Schmidt asked, what if it wasn't? What if PETM looked a lot like our current industrial era? because something similar had happened before. Here's what's wild. The carbon released during PETM was massive, yes, but slower than what humanity is doing today. That's both comforting and terrifying. Comforting because it suggests PETM may truly have been natural. Terrifying because we're outpacing a global catastrophe that wiped out marine life in slow motion. And so, PETM becomes more than just a scientific curiosity. It becomes a mirror, a test, a whisper from the past asking, "Have you been here before?" We like to believe that intelligence is inevitable, that if you just give evolution enough time, something smart will show up. But nature doesn't promise progress. It only promises change. Now, think of the dinosaurs. For over 150 million years, they dominated Earth in every shape and form, from thunderous giants like the T-Rex to tiny agile predators like the Troodon. But here's the twist. Troodon may have been more than just smart for a dinosaur. It might have been on a path toward consciousness. Troodon had a brain-to-body ratio that rivals some modern birds. It had binocular vision, opposable fingers, and a highly flexible body. If the asteroid hadn't struck, ending the Cretaceous, would Troodon have evolved into something far more sophisticated? Something sapient? Paleontologist Dale Russell thought so. He proposed a speculative creature, the dinosauroid, a humanoid dinosaur with large eyes, upright posture, and advanced intelligence. It was a thought experiment, but it raised an unsettling question. What if we weren't meant to be the only ones? Of course, no fossil evidence suggests Troodon built tools or started agriculture. It's possible they never reached the critical threshold. But evolution doesn't play favorites. If conditions had been slightly different, the dominant species of Earth might not look anything like us. And maybe, just maybe, somewhere in another galaxy, on a planet where no asteroid ever hit, an intelligent reptilian species is looking up at the stars, wondering if they are alone. When we imagine intelligent life, we usually think of cities, machines, tools, and towering monuments. But what if intelligence didn't build? What if it grew, quietly, beneath the soil? Enter the fungus hypothesis, a radical idea that suggests complex networks of fungi might have once formed a kind of decentralized, non-human intelligence. It sounds bizarre until you realize this. Fungi already do extraordinary things. In 2000, Japanese biologist Toshiyuki Nakagaki placed a slime mold, a brainless yellowish organism, into a maze with food at the end. Within hours, the slime mold found the most efficient path to the food. Not only that, it adapted if the maze changed. It solved problems. It learned. Without a nervous system. Fungi form mycelial networks, branching out underground over miles. They connect with plant roots, share nutrients, send warning signals, and even remember environmental patterns. Some scientists call it the Wood Wide Web. Now imagine this fungal intelligence evolving over millions of years. Not in buildings or books, but through biochemistry. Could these networks have formed a kind of organic civilization? One with no cities, no tools, and no bones to fossilize? Only chemical whispers left behind in ancient soil. It's a wild idea, yes. But in a universe that created mushrooms with memory, why not consider it? History, as we know it, begins with writing, a mere 5,000 years ago. But human beings, anatomically modern ones like us, have existed for at least 300,000 years. That leaves a vast, undocumented void, a forgotten chapter we barely understand. What happened during that missing time? Scattered across the globe are mysterious structures, oversized tools, and stories of giants, remnants that don't quite fit into mainstream timelines. In Sardinia, for example, oral traditions speak of giants roaming the island 3,000 years ago. Archaeologists brushed it off as myth, until 1974. That year, more than 5,000 fragments of massive stone statues were found at Monte Prama. When reconstructed, they revealed 38 statues of warriors, standing over 8 feet tall. Built by the Nuragic people, who also constructed over 8,000 massive stone towers, the scale alone suggests something different. A culture obsessed with bigness, or maybe honoring beings much larger than themselves. These weren't just statues. They were stone guardians, built to endure, to speak across centuries. But speak of what? Other regions have similar anomalies. In South Africa, smooth, perfectly spherical objects called the Klerksdorp spheres were found in 3-billion-year-old rock. Their symmetry defies natural explanation. In Texas, a modern-looking hammer was found encased in 100-million-year-old rock, prompting debates about geological compression versus human presence. Are these misinterpretations? Or are they echoes of a human past more complex, more layered than we dare admit? We don't know for sure, but the evidence is stacking up, stone by stone. Imagine finding a spark plug inside a chunk of 500,000-year-old rock, or a precision-crafted metal sphere embedded in coal from the Jurassic period. These aren't plot points from a sci-fi movie. They're real-life mysteries that continue to baffle scientists and skeptics alike. They're called UU parts, out-of-place artifacts, objects that seemingly don't belong in the layer of history they're found in. Take the Dorchester pot, for example. In 1852, after a powerful explosion shattered a layer of rock, a beautifully crafted metal vessel emerged. It had intricate flower designs, silver inlay, and looked like a piece from a Victorian palace. Yet the rock it was found in was estimated to be hundreds of millions of years old. Or consider the Meister print, what looks like the fossil of a modern sandal print, complete with stitching, stepping on a trilobite, a creature that went extinct over 500 million years ago. Most scientists label these anomalies as either misinterpretations, hoaxes, or natural formations, but some remain stubbornly unexplained, and undeniably curious. And then there's Göbekli Tepe, a site in Turkey that has shattered our assumptions about when humans started building sacred spaces. Over 11,000 years old, it predates agriculture, pottery, and metalwork. Huge carved stone pillars were arranged in circles, possibly for ritual or astronomical use. How did hunter-gatherers, with no permanent settlements, create such monumental architecture? Maybe, just maybe, our ancestors were smarter, more organized, and more spiritually driven than we've given them credit for. Or, they weren't alone. If intelligent life is so likely in the universe, then where is everyone? That haunting question is known as the Fermi paradox, and it cuts to the heart of our cosmic loneliness. The Milky Way alone has billions of Earth-like planets, many of which are far older than our Sun. Statistically, there should be thousands, if not millions, of civilizations more advanced than us. If that's true, we may be the rare winners, the ones who made it through the gauntlet. But what if the filter is still ahead? What if it's the moment civilizations gain the power to destroy themselves? With climate change, nuclear war, AI, or bioweapons, and they always, inevitably, do. In that case, our current age isn't a celebration, it's a test. Are we alone because we're special? Or because every species like us eventually drowns in its own brilliance? Either way, the Great Filter forces us to look in the mirror, not for aliens, but for answers about ourselves. So, why is it so quiet out there? One possible answer is the Great Filter, a concept proposed by economist Robin Hanson in the 1990s. It suggests that somewhere along the path from stardust to starships, there's an incredibly difficult step, a filter, that most life can't pass. This filter could be behind us, like the origin of life, the leap to multicellular organisms, or the rise of intelligence itself. What if all the ancient mysteries, the fossil clues, and the stars above have been trying to tell us something? What if the real secret isn't about aliens, ancient builders, or forgotten giants, but about us? Look around. We're the first species, as far as we know, to understand evolution, map DNA, split the atom, and now send messages across galaxies. We're no longer just observing the universe, we're participating in it. We are now the designers of tomorrow, the architects of what comes next. The stone tools of the past have become silicon chips. The cave walls are now glowing screens. The firelight shadows have transformed into neural networks and quantum code. Our myths have become math. So here's the final awakening. The universe has given us the tools to shape reality, but it hasn't given us the wisdom. That's where you come in. As a viewer, as a thinker, As a part of this vast cosmic web, you are not insignificant. What we choose to build or destroy begins with our thoughts, our stories, and our sense of responsibility. We stand on the edge of something vast, a future yet to be written. So let's write it well. If this journey sparked something in you, a question, a chill, a curiosity, don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, and subscribe to help awaken more minds. Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one. And remember, the past may be ancient, but the future is still ours to shape.